faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than your local government, able to eat out on consecutive nights. Some man for one man. Superman! Superman is probably the most iconic superhero of all time. Yes, we all prefer Spider-Man, Batman, and media darling Booster Gold, but Superman is ubiquitous. As soon as you can reason reality, you just know who he is and you love him. At least you love him before you discover Batman or Spider-Man, that is. Then he becomes Mr. Boring because he's not dark or edgy enough or whatever. I went through the phase like everybody else of not particularly liking him because other people on the internet said so. Usually as side notes on those endlessly nauseating Batman essays and reviews. Did you know the Joker is the complete opposite of Batman and that's why they are so perfect? Did you know? Did you? Did you know though? Did you actually know though? Did you? Did you know? Well, I am sick of hearing about that. I have come back around to being a soups guy, and in a series of videos I'm going to touch on the pilots to Superman. As usual, I will delve haphazardly into the history of Superman on the build to his first comic appearance in Action Comics #1. Today's broadcast will, however, focus on the build up to every Superman's favorite fun fact, the reign of the Superman. A loosely related story by the Superman creators back when they were just a couple of poor nerds, rather than slightly less poor nerds. DC really fucked them. But there is so much more I will look at in the future, from radio shows and movie serials to those amazing Fleischer cartoons. I will cover it all. Eventually. Maybe. If you like this one, we'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comments. Well, enough loitering, let's get on with this and start from the very beginning, all the way back to its two creators, Jerry Siegal and Joe Shuster. Jerry, born in 1914 in a gritty Jewish neighborhood. He was a meek boy with glasses, famous for peeing himself in class when he was only 6. Oh, Jerry, I wish I could say things get better, but you're in for a rough ride, buddy, so just hold on for your life. Unlike most four-eyed nerds in fiction, Jerry wasn't particularly gifted in class. He was a solid D student, excellent only in writing Valentine's Day cards for himself, according to the Larry Ty book, Superman, the high-flying history of America's most enduring hero. You had to mention the sad Valentine's card story, hadn't you, Larry? Jerry pissing himself in class just wasn't enough humiliation. Give poor Jerry a break, would ya? As bad as life was in the classroom for Jerry, the schoolyard was much worse. Along with some good-natured beatings, kids would often call him names and make up chants. Seagull, seagull, bird of an eagle. I mean, the chant itself is not particularly mean or make much sense, but it was, I'm sure, how the kids said it that left emotional scars. Children are monsters. He also, to his great sorrow, received as much attention from girls as old Ashley did back in school. It's okay. It's okay, Jerry. They didn't know what they were missing. They didn't know. Poor Jerry was really down in the dumps, dissatisfied with school, his life, his looks. Is it any wonder he escaped into other worlds of pulp and fantasy? His life would be further devastated when his dad would die from a heart attack when his second-hand clothes store was robbed. Emotional devastation like that sticks with you, and I'm sure it had like a massive impact on Jerry and maybe even inspired some of his later writings for Superman. How about our lad Joseph though? Or Joey as I like to call him. I hope he is having an easier time than poor Jerry. Joseph Shuster, born July 10th, 1914, was an even bigger nerd than Jerry, if that's even possible. Jerry was pushed around by everyone, but Joey was pushed around by everyone and Jerry. When you read all about Joey's backstory, it's really hard not to root for the little guy. He was an artist that could barely see. He was in a nearsighted class in school even. When he would draw, he would have to have his face as close as possible to the page, so talk about dealing with adversity. He was introduced to Jerry through Jerry's cousin and had what I imagined was instant Milhouse meets Milhouse vibes.
But I thought I was the only one.
A pain I know all too well.
Both poor immigrants, bullied in school, unnoticed by girls, wore glasses and had fathers who were tailors. Needless to say, they had a lot in common and immediately hit it off when they met in the library. They went straight back to Jerry's to chat about fantasy, and Joe was invited to contribute to Jerry's self-made sci-fi magazine, Science Fiction. Great name, Jerry. Yeah, you really outdid yourself there. You fucking idiot. Oh my god, even I'm bullying them. Their first big collaboration was an illustrated short story called The Reign of the Superman. Wow, they just came together and made Superman that quick and easy. Cool, so what do we have in this first Superman story? Ha, that's not what I was expecting. Yes, the first Superman tale is about a crazy scientist giving psychic powers to an even crazier asshole. It's a morality tale about the misuse of power for your own selfish needs. He doesn't even wear his underwear outside his trousers, which is a big disappointment, I won't lie to you. I knew about this proto-Superman story since I was a young teenager. It was mentioned and briefly shown in some documentary I had watched, and I was instantly filled with this sense of wonder. I think they described this Superman as being more like Lex Luther than the hero he would become, was more in the vein of the Friedrich Nietzsche Übermensch. Well, let's not delve too much into that situation and pull our focus towards the reign of the Superman. We get this really nice double splash page with eye-catching art. It's not anything amazing when you look up closely, but it does a great job to draw you in. I enjoyed Jerry crediting himself here. Another thrilling story from the writer of Snaring the Master. That sounds terrible. It begins with Professor Smalley watching and judging men lining up for the breadline. Coming from a rich family, he shares no empathy for these people he deems below himself. With a contemptuous sneer on his face, Professor Smalley watched the wretched unfortunates file past him. Eventually, Smalley just grabs a vagrant at random, promising a good meal and a clean suit. Hesitant at first, the vagrant known as Hobo Bill Dunn eventually goes along with Smalley's offer. The professor tells him he is a chemist and his intentions are purely humanitarian. Hobo Bill Dunn gets in Smalley's car, happy with his good fortune, while Smalley beams with sinister intent. He had found his guinea pig. The story now, clumsily if you ask old Ashley, lets us in on Smalley's scheme. He had recently discovered a meteor fragment which contained what he believed was a new element. He had done experiments on animals with the substance which made them act strange. He now plans to use half of the remaining grains on everyone's favorite beggar, Hobo Bill Dunn. Back at Smalley Manor, we have a My Fair Lady moment, as Smalley has Dunn washed, shaved, and put into a new suit. The suit gives Dunn newfound confidence that surprises Smalley. He begins to worry Dunn suspects something, but he is none the wiser and hints for the promised meal, with Smalley happy to oblige as he slips the formula into Dunn's coffee. Hobo Bill Dunn begins to feel unwell, thinking he has eaten far too much as the formula begins to work its magic. Smalley looks for the butler to help Dunn to bed, but as he leaves, Dunn starts to sense Smalley's intentions and realizes he is being duped and experimented on. He escapes out the window and begins to run as far as he can, eventually running straight into a park tree. Absolutely mortifying. Here we get to the super stuff. The story introduces Hobo Bill Dunn's new powers. As he fights his pain, he begins to both read people's minds and hear faraway conversations all at once, causing him confusion. It's all dramatic and fantastical dialogue he is hearing as well. No mundane conversations. It's all gangsters, ace reporters, and drama. Dunn wishes for the noise to stop, and it immediately does. Next, he wonders about Smalley, and suddenly he hears Smalley in his mind panicking about Dunn's escape. Dunn, on instinct, puts together what has happened to him and begins to test his new abilities. He looks up to the sky and his sight allows him to see all the way to Mars. With this new supervision, he witnesses what is described as a giant tree-like creature fighting a 30-foot high, thin streak of light. Both flowed, it seemed, instead of walking. The red intelligence, as the story calls it, ultimately obliterates the tree creature, and the story returns to Dunn on Earth, who collapses from all the excitement. In the morning, when Dunn wakes up, he is different. He talks to himself and realizes what a fool he has been for being poor, because being poor, as we all know, is a choice. That's right, the formula that makes you really smart also turns you into a Republican, so eat dirt, liberals. This Superman, as the story now refers to him as, will use his powers to remedy that mistake. He describes his abilities thusly. I can do 4 things that no one else of the planet can emulate. They are intercept interplanetary messages, read the mind of anyone I desire by sheer mental concentration, force ideas into other people's heads, and throw my vision to any spot in the universe. He also claims as he slept he absorbed all knowledge of the universe into himself, and his most pressing ambition is to con some men out of quick money. Before that, however, he hilariously goes to the library to laugh at that kiddie book, Professor Einstein's The Expanding Universe, which he brags he can read in German or any other language. As he makes a scene, an attendant politely asks him to be quiet, but he just laughs and says she's lucky he hasn't got a ray gun. Next, this being with infinite knowledge does something useful and makes an old library snob who was not happy with Dunn's appearance look like a real idiot. The Superman Bill Dunn answers a question the snob planned to belittle him with before he even gets a chance to say it. That's enough fun in the library as the Superman goes about his day tricking men out of their money and blackmailing others. It's a real reign of terror. Okay, that's where the title comes from. Very good. After gaining a whopping, massive, okay $165, which was a lot of beans back in the day, he realizes that universal domination is in his reach. Because of course. He needs more money though, and concentrating his mind, he learns he can look 24 hours into the future and uses this power to gamble and play the stock market when he reads tomorrow's paper. The Superman is real and he is Biff Tannen. News of the Superman's good fortune hits the headlines and draws the attention of our old friend, Professor Smalley. Outraged at the misuse of power Smalley wanted to misuse himself, he resorts to the 1920s version of a tweet storm, writing a heated letter and posting it to the biggest news editor in town. That will cancel Mr. Dunn for sure and stop his world domination. After posting his little letter, Smalley remembers he has half the grains for the formula left. He could make himself a Superman and rule the world! He gets to work, and when he is ready and he is about to drink the magic potion, of course the doorbell rings. Infuriatingly, instead of just ignoring it and locking himself in the room and taking the formula, the dim Smalley decides it's a good idea to let the Superman in. If he had just drank the magic potion, he would have known not to be such a big stupid head. But I guess it was Superman's mind making him answer the door. But still, drink the formula first, you old codger. Smalley lets in the Superman and walks him to the laboratory. He asks the Superman to report what has happened to him, and he gladly does. For the Superman intends to kill our good friend Smalley, and you see, you're going to monologue to your victim before you do that. It's just villain etiquette. Smalley reveals to the Superman that he intends to drink the remaining potion, and that together with their huge nerd brains, they will rule the universe. The Superman reads Smalley's mind, however, and sees he plans to double-cross him. There's only room for one Superman and one ruler of the universe. The two dorks get into a fight and try to strangle each other to death. For whoever won would rule the universe. Somehow? I mean, this Superman is struggling with the old fart Smalley. What would he do if a red intelligence stepped up to him? Not much, I'll tell you that. Before we find out the victor, the story changes abruptly to a different setting. We're at the International Conciliatory Council. Everyone is having a chat about how brilliant peace is when all of a sudden that troublemaker Italy has their messenger of peace abruptly have a go at Balvania for absolutely no reason. Allora. It was brutal. The other nations literally did not know where to look. Balvania's rep, not having any of this, jumps to his feet and was like, "Up yours, Italy, ya pizza munchers," and then somebody pushes him, and a big old brawl broke out. Well, world peace has apparently gone out the window. Jeez, thanks a bunch, Italy. Non bene. We cut to the city editor, who Smalley had sent the letter to earlier. He's all like, "Bloody hell, that escalated." Maybe it has something to do with this tweet storm someone mailed me the other day. He has his top reporter, Forrest Ackerman, investigate. Top man Ackerman heads to Smalley Manor. If everything our friend Smalley says is correct, this Superman may be responsible for those Italy dickheads causing World War III before World War II has even had a chance to begin. Ackerman investigates Smalley's house, letting himself in. He discovers blood in the lab and wonders who won the struggle. He heads back to the office, but suddenly he takes a turn. Forgetting everything, his focus becomes getting to a new destination. A building with a smiling man waiting for him. The man is revealed to be none other than Superman Bill Dunn. Somehow he had won the fight against the feeble Mr. Smalley. He tells Ackerman to sit, but it's a trap. The steel bars appear, confining him to the chair. Top reporter Ackerman demands answers to what happened, to which the Superman answers calmly, almost bored in fact, which infuriates Ackerman. He was busy concentrating his powers to send all nations to war. Ackerman calls the Superman names, which is a bit childish honestly, and threatens to kill him, which also not very mature. Use your words, intelligent words, not name calling or cussing. You prick. Top reporter Ackerman does what all great Americans do in tough situations like this and prays to God to stop him. Yeah, sure. That'll work, buddy. Oh shit, yeah, no, that worked. Absolutely worked. Because suddenly and anticlimactically, the Superman's face changed from hatred to terror. His powers were gone and he was back to being the Hobo Bill Dunn. His last vision was him in the future, homeless again in the park. Guess his investments didn't really pay off as well as he had hoped. He had no way of getting more of the formula as the meteor came from the dark planet. Dunn, like every dickhead, only realizes when it's far too late that he should have used his powers to be less of a dickhead. He tells the reporter he will be released in 15 minutes and that the Superman will be back on the breadline. Well, it looks like everything ended where it began, in a nice little bow with no loose ends. Except the World War, which I'm sure will work itself out. It'll be fine, things will be fine. Allora. And that was the reign of the Superman. And how close was it to the Superman we all know and love? Not very, honestly. Other than the name, there is literally nothing else here. We have a reporter who turns up last minute, but he's not exactly a Clark Kent prototype. I have heard people compare the ending to the excellent All-Star Superman. In that story, well, a lot happens. Hercules is involved at some point I think, but that's not really important. In it, near the end, Lex Luther takes a formula to be just like Superman for a day. Then at some point he breaks down when he sees the world as Superman does and realizes all his follies. So yeah, kinda like that I guess, but really grasping at straws to be honest with you. Well, that will do us for this part of my Superman series. We will return to Superman for the next pilot episode and continue to explore his creation as we build to his first appearance in Action Comics #1. I will also look at other aspects of Superman, from movie serials to some cartoon stuff, with the intention of doing a big remastered documentary combining all the videos together, but that's for the future. So until then, keep looking towards the sky, or you could check out some other Ash 2 videos. Go on, you know you want to. Boy, I sure did say a thing or two about a thing or two. Who knows what I might say next? Could be something good. Only one way to find out, and that's by liking and subscribing. Go on, you know you want to.